So thank you very much to yourself and to yourself for coming down. We really appreciate it. So we are here today to talk about Gary Youds and also yourself running for the Liverpool Crime Commissioner.
Yeah, first I've got to ask, what does a crime commissioner do? What's the job role?
Well, if you've ever seen Batman, you know I should say that.
We literally were speaking about that before.
If you've ever seen Batman, probably the biggest thing is recognise Commissioner Gordon.
Of course.
And it's a bit different in the States. I mean, it is a kind of American idea anyway, and I think the initial idea was to have somebody providing the accountability and also looking after certain budgets and being a kind of a public link for the police, from the public to the police. From my perspective and my party's perspective, we don't think that has captured the imagination of people, and it hasn't provided the link that we were initially promised. You know, some good parts of it. It has funding to support different projects and things like that, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't need to happen, in my opinion, with a police and crime commissioner, and that's pretty evident with turnout. So the first election in 2012, we had 12% turnout, wasn't too much bigger the next time round, although it was increased, I think, because it was tied into other elections. Probably have a similar turnout this time round, I don't know, but I don't expect it to be massive. And, you know, I don't think that link has, you know, if you go out here and ask, you know, who's your police and crime commissioner, I suspect most people won't know we even have a police and crime commissioner. But you're asking me, what does the role do, or anything like that. So I'd like us to, in areas that we have metro mayors, so we have a mayor of the Liverpool City region. In Greater Manchester, they've merged the two roles together and merged some of that accountability of the chief constable. So that's one of the roles, is keep chief constable in check. You know, we still need an element of that, but I think we need to break it down much more on a local level. People often say to me, you know, as a councillor, as anyone really, I suppose, you know, we don't see police in our area, we don't know who our local police are. I'd like us to have local accountability, local forums where people can go along and actually quiz their police and actually break the idea of the police commissioner for further down
and help with a sense of community.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think there's an issue in the police where you know, through no fault of the police themselves, but when you join the police, you kind of, the career path kind of takes you from one community, and then you advance through from PCSO right the way up, and you leave an area. I want people to be attached to areas. It's something that should be
recognise your local policeman.
And there used to be a process of that. And you know, if you're attached to communities, you're going to know people. You're going to know every nook and cranny of an area, and you're going to know the key players in the area and how to interact and
gain trust, which is the main thing, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it can be quite a bit of a bit worrying, a bit scary when you do see.
Daunting at times as well. When you see a police officer in the community, and it might kind of put you back up a little bit when in hindsight it really shouldn't be that.
No, it should be nice and easy where you can go up to them, you can ask them for help, instead of worrying maybe if they're gonna sort of judge or probably put your arm behind your back. You said the wrong thing. It is that fine line, especially with policing in Liverpool.
How's your campaign been going so far?
Well, I mean, it's been different. So different. So I was selected 2019. We've obviously had a pandemic, so there's not been much in the way.
Of course,
campaigning. It was really. I mean, as I said, I think it's hard to capture people's imagination, and also especially because we're tied in with the plethora of different elections that are going on. So we've got the locals, we've got the metro mayor, we've got the city mayor, which obviously, you know, given recent issues in Liverpool, is probably taking a headline. So you know, it's almost the forgotten election that's happening. You know, it's such a large area. Look, we're talking 1.4 million people, and I won't get around to hardly any of those over the next 3 weeks. So a lot of it's been social media based, you know, leaflets and stuff like that where we can, but the interest has been poor, let's put it that way. I've done one debate on road safety, and this is the next kind of thing. This interview today is probably the latest thing that I've actually had to do in terms of a public appearance for the campaign, really. So it feels a strange one because of the pandemic. It's nice to, you know, be back out there. We've relaxed some of the rules, obviously, and we were able to go on the doors. You know, I went door knocking for the first time in about a year and a half a few weeks ago, and it's strange how much I missed it, actually. I think actually being away from, you get into a bit of a process over the years, sort of like knock on the door, so I was like, hi, how are you? And, issues, blah, 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 and come in. But actually, I was really excited to be on the doorstep, probably too excited. Too many things. I ain't got any issues here, just go away.
We might end up seeing a very different electoral process at the moment now, because with what's happening with the mayor, the recent mayor.
So on a council level, I think that's quite interesting. And I'm a city councillor as well. I represent Walton and Gattaca. Look, Liverpool's in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. And it's not just about Liverpool, it's about the wider region and the reputation of the wider region as well. I want us to be a place that people feel that they can visit, that they can invest, and they can live safely without worry about cowboy developers or things ultimately going wrong.
Half-built buildings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's around 36 buildings in the city centre that are incomplete and probably won't be completed for a very long time, because the investors have.
The main one's the hospital, isn't it? Which is the most important part for Liverpool at the moment was the hospital being built, and there's somebody actually being paid now, isn't it, to go around and flush the toilets and turn the sinks on and things like that, when they should just sort of try and power through
utilise the whole building.
Try and get it done as good as possible, wouldn't you?
But we've got people who've invested into schemes like Paramount Street and the ones just up here, which just won't turn into anything. And people who've invested into property that they thought they're going to get and have lost money from these developers. What's come out of the Colour report, is a culture of bullying and intimidation, but also really quite schemes that were kind of given away on the cheap. Let's put it that way. To make kind of quick bucks, and we can't have that culture again. So anyway, that will it is playing an interesting role.
Yeah,
it's certainly the hot topic on the doorsteps where I've been campaigning,
especially with Liverpool being predominantly red, a Labour city. It's definitely, it's like we've been stabbed in the back by our own, in a sense, by the people who are meant to look out for us. And it's, again, like you said, it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out.
I think, look at it this way, there's 31 seats up for election on the council. Forget the mayor for a minute. Labour have 70 members, we have 10, there's a few other smaller parties have got a few. Even if miraculously we took all 31 seats off grab, which I think is unlikely, but I think there are other parties who might take some of them, Labour would still have a majority just on the council. So actually what I'd say to people is that even if they think, Labour could lose the council or anything like that, it's about shaking it up. It's actually having such a one-party dominated council in anything, in a parliament, in a local authority or whatever it is, can create a really bad culture. as one of the few opposition members, you sit on committees and you're constantly shut down when you're trying to ask questions. And if there are different voices at the table, then we could have a bit more transparency, a bit more
an open mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can ultimately have better decisions, because we can put forward different proposals, and people actively have to negotiate, they'll have to make concessions, and I think we can have a better running council because of that ultimately.
Definitely. We read something, was it yesterday, about 61% in a recent poll.
On the Echo's website, saying that they were happy for change, or they're looking forward to change
from Labour to a different party. Which is obviously a positive for yourself.
It is, and we're picking up those in certain areas of the city. What I'd say is that you said that this is predominantly a red city, as you say, but actually Liverpool is probably the most fluid local authority there probably is in the country. It wasn't that long ago, the Conservatives were kind of running the city, or we had half the council elected as Catholic councillors, and various different parties have come through. If you look through Liverpool's local election history, it's been so fluid in terms of who's taken control or who's had councillors or whatever. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a shake-up in terms of the makeup of the council after May 6th. So, I mean, I'm not up for election this time round, but obviously that's why I stand for commissioner, but you know, it'll be interesting times after.
Definitely, we're looking forward to see how it goes. So the way that we sort of this whole interview came about was we were doing a little piece on Gary and Gary Youds, and what he does with himself as a self-proclaimed businessman. He's opened and ran a successful business as a coffee shop, as a social club for cannabis. Down up in Kensington. So we were doing a little piece about him and what he's done for the community and the city itself.
And inadvertently it's kind of turned into more of a kind of going down the road of maybe more of a political thing because of how cannabis is kind of widely portrayed as in the community and the world as in a negative light.
That's it. And we were speaking to him at the time, and then we were looking into, there was is there a place up in Durham, isn't there, called Club Exhale, is it, Gary?
It's in Stockton in Middlesbrough. It's called Club Exhale, and the first crime commissioner I'd ever heard about was Ron Hogg, who started a campaign of stop arresting the cannabis smokers and turning a blind eye, really. De facto decriminalised, really, and their police force has been voted the #1 in the country now. So what the late Ron Hogg started, like, and Arfon Jones took it over, which is another modern day hero, if you ask me. Arfon has been flying the flag for stop the arrests, and let's do things a bit different. As I say, with unprecedented times with the COVID and the job losses and businesses closing down, I just think this is a unique opportunity. We've got New York, we've just legalised 6 plants. We had Switzerland in the last few days, we've got Malta in the last few days. I just think the domino effect, and I think Liverpool will get left behind, but if we can label this meeting reconciliation, and hopefully we can all agree that it's time for change, and this new age we're going to come into, it's going to be like an organic future type of thing where we can all look out for one another, get our communities back together. So I really would. It's an honour to meet you, sir, and I've been in a few meetings with Jane Kennedy over the years, which was in Rose Lane, and she didn't actually turn up for the meeting, but she sent someone from Merseyside Police. It was an Inspector Collins. You might come across it in the next few weeks, but it's just more of a coming together and rising above the smoke type of thing, and looking at my 20 years work behind the scenes, because as I say, I've got lots of other directors now who I've got London solicitors, I've got Birmingham Chamber of Commerce accountants. I mean, there's lots of people who are singing my song type of thing, so we all want the same thing. We all want to do the right thing, okay? We don't want to spend millions of pounds of Merseyside Police on budgets. It's not going to stop the problem, okay? If we arrest 50 cannabis growers tomorrow and 50 the next day, Liverpool is still going to have cannabis on the streets, so it's going to waste millions of pounds of taxpayers' money on the judiciary. Now, what Ron Hogg started is amazing, and what Arfon is carrying on, but I'd love you to take the crown of these inspirational men and bring it forward, because I know there's that many people in Liverpool who organically think, who I've met, who are my friends, who are stand-up people who you'd have round for your Sunday dinner, and we'd all like to support you type of thing. And I know the green vote, we'll call it, there's lots of people who will, if we publicise that you are on our side type of thing and we want the change, we can all like sing in the same orchestra type of thing, and you can play your part and I can play my part, and before you know it, we bring real harmony to the streets of Liverpool, and it'll be safe for your ancestors or your children or your mum or your dad to go out of a night. I mean, Amsterdam's been doing it for getting on for 30 years, and I was in Amsterdam in 2003 doing a course how to bring these Dutch theme, but it's not really Dutch themed, it's more like Dutch, Spanish and a lot of Scouse. We've got the creative musicians, and I'd just like to call this meeting reconciliation, okay, and let's shaped the agenda. How I got into this situation is I went to a conference in Liverpool in 2002, and it was organised through John Moores University, and it was called Shaping New Agenda. It was a cannabis conference.
Yep.
So I just thought the right place, right time. I'm a local businessman. I thought cannabis is going to be legalised in 6 weeks. 20 years later, I'm getting the voice now, and people are listening to what I say, type of thing, because the whole world's waking up to prohibition. It's never worked. Okay, I'll look back at the 20s and the gangsters and the Al Capones and the Tommy Guns but the drug war was 1,000 times that, and every city all over the world now, so we can all bring about the peace and give everyone high-paying jobs. And look at my model, okay, and get me the meetings with the Serena Kennedy, which is the new police officer in charge of Merseyside, and hopefully we can get you elected. And maybe a Green Mayor. I've been to speak to Tom Crone from the Green Party, so if we could have a Green Mayor and a progressive crime commissioner who was singing our song type of thing and bringing about the peace with us, I want to embrace you and support your campaign.
Well, I think there's a few things there. Is that we need to have a proper grown-up debate about cannabis. And first of all, I'd love to come and visit in terms of what you're doing. First of all, because I think you mentioned the Stockton example.
Yes.
Is that there's so many dynamics in this, isn't there? Is that actually what the cannabis cafes or Stockton, what you guys are doing, is actually it's more than just people getting together to smoke cannabis. It's a harm reduction centre at the end of the day, isn't it? And let's be honest about this. A vast array of people from life will have smoked cannabis or do smoke cannabis. Probably going to get arrested or something for saying it. But I have smoked cannabis in my lifetime. Well, I don't anymore. I'm not somebody who I've not turned to any serious crime or anything like that. We do these things for different things. We do them for enjoyment, or we do them for some sort of escapism, or whatever it is. And the danger is, as I'm sure you get and totally understand this, is that by not having a controlled environment to a lot of these things, is that actually some people who use your services or use the one in Stockton might have mental health problems, and actually being around other people is really, really important, because you've got the relationships there. They're not just smoking alone, and they can be monitored and make friends, etc., etc. But there's also the criminal aspect of it, isn't there? So by buying products that aren't regulated, that are off the street, we're seeing things from gangs around the world where things like spice, isn't it? And I forget the name of the other stuff as well, that can have harmful products in it. But I know that in the Stockton one, they make their own, and they grow their own, and it's all regulated within there to kind of be safe. And I think, that's, by having that immediate controlled environment, you're taking away any problems that those individuals might have. You're taking away the police time, the effort of having to just, somebody's smoking cannabis, better arrest them or whatever. And, the people that probably come to you or go to that one, someone wherever it is, are perfectly functioning normal members of society, probably doctors,
That's it,
MPs, I don't know, whatever, I don't know what it is, but,
Can I just bring up every arrest for if somebody's got 6 cannabis plants, by the time the police have gone and kicked the door took it to court 3 or 4 times, and then the gentleman might go to jail for 6 months. How much does this cost the economy? From the arrest to putting it through the court system, it's tens of thousands of pounds for every single case. So if you can bring about stop these arrests, and we can regulate it with my model, a small number of plants, so it is community interest companies is going to give back, and the money we'll save on the arrests and the judiciary, we can put into high-paying jobs and just bringing about peace.
I've actually got a little fact there from it too. So this was published by the Times. Since 2015, there's been 2.5 billion spent on 8,000 arrests per year due to cannabis. And that's a lot of money. That's 2.8 billion to any.
No
pocket change. That's for a whole country themselves. And just to think, if that 2.5 billion could then be invested into the educational system, into the healthcare, getting the hospital built, putting the money into that, and putting on stuff where you can grow your communities and grow the city itself. And make the city prosper.
So some of the statistics there, I don't know what they've used, but I suspect it's not broken down on terms of what's been kind of minor drug offences. So somebody who has maybe been caught, a teenager being caught at a corner smoking a spliff and then just goes about living their daily life. Or is it somebody who's involved in a massive drug cartel and gang, which is far more serious going on there, and that's where I think the police and things like that need to spend their time on, not on your kind of minor offences, people who are perfectly, you know, using the drug recreationally for health reasons, whatever, that are kind of being punished because the law doesn't support it. So, you know, that's where the police, in my opinion, need to spend their time on, and where people who are taking it unregulated are being exploited and helping to fuel the system because of that. But because of things like what you would do, and if we can have those things kind of set up, then we can stop that vicious cycle.
Yeah. An open discussion. Okay, I'm bringing integrity. Okay, I've been struggling for 20 years to bring this to fruition. But as I say, with me professionals and just meeting you is it's beneficial for the whole community. As I say, this is
and especially now with like London and Sadiq Khan has just came out about a week and a half ago. This again will fuel the flame for us to get this sorted out, is because he's now said that he wants to create the London Crime or the London Drug Commission, the London Drug Commission, to actually investigate into the effects on cannabis economically and socially in the communities.
Essentially decriminalise if the findings are.
Now obviously we're on that side too. The mayor's only got so much of a certain pull. The Parliament has still came out and said no, we're not going to legalise it.
They have no future plans in doing so either.
Yeah, but I suppose for somebody with such a high power in the biggest city in the country, one of the biggest cities in the world for population wise too, it's a massive step forward in the right direction for cannabis itself. And that's, I think, especially with him trying to put that on as one of his main points in his campaign, shows that Britain itself is now starting to understand and realise that maybe cannabis is not as bad as what it is.
It's demonising as what it's being portrayed in the media.
I mean, it's going to be a long process, isn't it? And you've just explained it. You know, this is an exceptionally long process even to kind of get this conversation going.
Yes.
I mean, look, you know, from my perspective, my party's perspective, we've had a long policy about this, that we want a regulated cannabis market, you know, which can protect individuals and actually bring money into the economy.
So many jobs.
Absolutely. And, you know, but, I mean, it's good that, you know, you're right, I think it is good that Sadiq Khan has said that, and you know, I think for Merseyside, for Liverpool, I mean, certainly from my perspective here, and you know, whether I win or lose, you know, I would like to take this agenda forward regardless. You know, I'm still a city councillor, and I think, you know, let's still get in front of the new PCC, whoever they are, you know, the chief constable. Let's get a conversation going here.
I think if you're on our side, you're going to be the next PCC.
Well, that would be amazing.
I can get tens of thousands of people to vote for you. If this is okay, we all agree we want change, and we can all we're all moral and we all want a safer place for our futures. It's okay. We all want good jobs, and okay, we want to take the edge off the city and bring the peace. And but at this moment in time, where we're all
looking into revenue money that's been made, so you try to compare to the States is always hard, because America is just it's on a different planet. Like America itself, the place, the closest state which has got the closest population, so it's the highest population in the States, is California. I think they've got about 39 million people living there in the whole of the state. Now Britain themselves have got about 68 million people living here. In 2 years, since 2018, this is a Californian published post. The actual government have published it out. To say that they've invested and they've made from the tax and the cultivation from it of over nearly 2.8 billion, and that's in 2 years. Sorry, 1.8 billion. That's 1 billion's a lot of money. Myself there. 1.8 billion in 2 years.
And we spent 2.5 billion on criminalising people.
That's it. Okay,
so I mean, it's more beneficial to collect taxes, isn't it? And give people jobs and rather than.
I mean, it's going to, there are arguments against it, aren't there? I mean, and this is the war, I suppose, you end up having to win. But the thing is, let's rather than just simply going with this view, it's kind of like, well, drugs are bad. So that's my age, my South Park coming through there. You guys probably don't even know. But let's have real experts kind of getting around the table and talking about this. There will be arguments about health impacts on individuals. There are some concerns from people about mental health issues and what impact that it has on individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one, which is sort of linked with it too.
But again, with the studies that have been done in regards to mental health, psychosis, schizophrenia, it's all the case studies have been showing that it's if buts and it may well lead to this. But there's no solid facts in what the studies have actually been showing.
You've got to criminalise 20,000 people to stop one case of schizophrenia, and I've actually read the facts and it says it could or possibly or may. It doesn't say it does, so the facts are still inconclusive. So I mean, if we can stop the criminalising 20,000 people and give all these people jobs.
Well, I agree, and the fact is because it's prohibited, there are people that will have side effects because we don't know what's in half of this stuff. We don't know what's in, if there are additional products being put into cannabis that are harming people.
Growers.
Absolutely, and if we get proper experts around the table, if we get a proper regulated market, and we can deal with some of these issues. One person actually, maybe I'll try and get him for your show or something like that. Norman Lamb, who used to be our health minister, he did a documentary for the BBC a little while ago. You might have seen it. Did you? Were you on the documentary?
I don't know, but I was in London and the United Nations Alliance it was.
Yeah, because he done a thing.
Got really mustard.
Didn't he go to Canada or something? And
there was a few.
We went over and he ended up taking cannabis drops, and you just see this former government minister being rather but yeah, I mean, let's even get Norman down sometime and have a proper chat about this.
We'd absolutely love to.
I mean, he's not an MP anymore, but he runs a mental health charity in Norwich now, so all kind of linked stuff. So,
There's a great one too. The chefs, the hairy bikers. I was speaking to my dad about this yesterday because we was on the topic of the conversation we were having today, and we were speaking to him about saying the hairy bikers go to this restaurant in California and it's all cannabis related food, so it's all infused. He said the fellow was just stood there just smiling and his jaw the accent going, I just can't stop smiling. It shows like that little side of where you can put it into food and things, and it's such a miracle plants with the medicinal purposes of it, and then the mental purposes of it, where it is for that social side, where you say a lot of smokers have been cooped up inside for all the life to smoking.
Some people for my age, they've been stuck in houses for like 30 odd years.
So tell me from your experience then, some of the work that you've done, where people have come to you or they come to your cafe or whatever it is. I mean, you would have had people from various walks of life, but I'm guessing that, and you don't have to name any individuals or anything that might recognise anyone, but I'm guessing that there might have been people in quite a vulnerable position, and actually your services will help them.
I used to have patients coming in horizontal wheelchairs who were brought in with the carers, and people went out of there with a smile on their face. There was nowhere they'd been like it. It's just that unique, and we looked out for everyone was a VIP in there. As I say, it was every race, colour, creed, religion from all over the world, and we invited people to our great city, and people have got memorable moments from what they experienced in there. As I say, we had the live music night in there, which is called The Backbone, and it was just bringing all the creative unsigned musicians onto our stage, because we had like 10 different bands on playing the weekend, so just all their friends they brought in. And as I say, we had third year doctor students, we had DNA scientists. I mean, every race, and different avenue and trade and all coming and chilling with me, and I was very proud just to meet them all, because I live in Norris Green, and people are scared to go to Norris Green. It's like a ghost town of a night. We don't get no tourists there. All you see around Broadway is Delta taxis and big yellow buses. So we want to change that. I'd love to bring tourists to Kensington, tourists to Kirkdale, tourists to Kirby, because we're all part of Liverpool, aren't we? We can bring the peace to these outside communities where no one else will invest. Children rooms can go to these disadvantaged communities what have been so, crime has been the industry type of thing. As I say, the way I look at it as a businessman, crime is our biggest employer. If you look at the crime business, it employs, we've got 6,000 police officers. I know G4S has 530,000 employees all over the world. All the judiciary, and all this money needing to be spent on.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Change.
And the cycle, it's a cycle that we've got to break. In the States, I know that, you end up with quite big drug cartels who are at war over the sale and creation of cannabis and other drugs, stuff like that. Over here it's a little bit less so, but what we're seeing is an increase of particularly child exploitation. And it is that cycle of communities, whereas sadly you said it, where crime is the norm, and it's providing an employment route.
Third generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, it's got to look at the whole world's ending this prohibition type of thing, and Liverpool is going to get left behind.
And if we can end that and we can create a regulated process, then that stuff's still going to happen, but it's going to happen on a much lesser scale, and the police are not going to be wasting their time or resources dealing with the legal cases and perfectly fine cases, but actually going after the people that are linked to criminal gangs.
Because there is that side of it with the criminality of it, and it is, like you said, child employment into that. And I've got a lot of people who are close to me that have unfortunately fell into that line of work at a young age, and it can tear families apart. And this is like people from solid homes, and it can really affect their lives and through this. So, but if you could do this as a properly regulated thing, where it's exactly what it is. You were saying things about plant tags and things like that, which I'd never heard of before.
Well, we've been working with United Kingdom social clubs, cannabis social clubs, and Liverpool was the Northwest ambassador for the type of things, which is we could bring like a plant tag model in. So like every plant would be seed to sale, it would all be tax paid and accounted for. So Merseyside police said no, this is a licensed premises, this little grow room, so this patron is growing his own medicine, and any extra children rooms is going to take it off the streets and provide a safe place and do the right thing, as I say, pay the tax and make sure that the cannabis will be tested, it'll be put in it's not mouldy or it's not sprayed with spice. All these things, the black market it doesn't care, it cares about if you got £20, but children rooms doesn't want people's £20, it wants the people to grow their own, and any extra bring to children rooms, and then there'll be no more black market, because everyone will be open. Hopefully these vibey cathedrals of peace are bringing real harmony and giving high paying jobs back to the local communities, because as I say, the space in Amsterdam, I think there's over 500 coffee shops, so Liverpool could have 500 coffee shops going on. I want to take children rooms all over the world type of thing.
The canals then.
It's like every pub that's in the UK could potentially be a social club, a coffee shop. And if you think about the amount of jobs that the bar and hospitality industry they generate, it's completely it's comparable to what could potentially be.
It's not a safe environment. Last time when they stopped the lockdown, the pubs were like tinder boxes. There was riots in the streets when people were going out after the first lockdown, so hopefully this time about it's not going to be the same. But I know if we opened with the coffee shops, and it would chill the place out a little bit. And
I worked in bars for nearly 8 years. So my first job was in Concert Square when I was 18. Like, it was my first bar job. And on the first night, I still remember seeing a lad getting headbutted across the bar, and this was like my first taste of working in town. And it was just that was just scratching the surface, like the tip of the iceberg. And then over the years from working in bars, you're constantly having to worry, are you going to see something happen tonight, or is someone going to get hurt and I've got to try and help them, or some first aid trained? I feel like every season used to be
disgusting things. Like, I used to be, when I was like 17 and 18, I used to be a promoter for clubs outside, and you used to see bouncers and like, get into altercations all the time, and I've seen a woman being dragged by I presume to be a boyfriend, by her hair, dragged across the street, and people intervene, and bottles being smashed over. It's literally, I've been me personally as a worker, taking people into a bar and getting them over to the bar to get them like free shots and whatever, and some guys just pushed me out the way, and I'm just being like a bit dumbfounded by what was going on, and he just lapped me, and I've just ended up in a fight in a bar while I'm working, and it just shows you that like every single time
the situation
exactly, and personally I've been to Gary's establishment, and I was so shocked at like what I thought. Going before, I was thinking just all these crazy things, like you think it's a coffee shop in Liverpool is like it's gonna be. Nah, it can't be like Amsterdam, it's not. And when you walk through the door, your eyes just go whoa, and it's just like absolutely shocked, and just professional. Like it's at a different level to some of the coffee shops I've been in Amsterdam itself, and the sense of like unity that was in there. Everyone's just like helping each other out and stuff like, and it's amazing. I remember I was sitting in there, and there's like a group of Canadian women, and they were all sitting there with like a big blanket, and I was just talking to them, and they were just sewing things. I asked them what they were doing, and they were saying that they go around all coffee shops around the world, and every single coffee shop that they're in, they sew a badge on this big blanket, and I was just like, whoa, it was just crazy. And then I met another person. I met a guy who had like the 3rd biggest Great Dane in the UK and Wales, and it was humongous. And apparently had tumours. Was it the dog that had tumours?
The dog had a tumour on the back of its leg, and Gary used to supply the man with the oil. And what they do, they rub the oil on the tumour, and the tumour would shrink. But that's what he said, that was just the medicinal purpose. It just fall off, and then that was it. Then that was the main process, which is
amazing. And then you'd come outside, and then you'd walk off road in Kenny, and I was like, I'm from Kensington, so it was just like I only lived down the road. I was made up. Concrete paradise, used to call it.
I'm coming along.
You should definitely
let's go now. I've never seen. Why are we here?
I can categorically say I've never seen an incident of antisocial behaviour or any type of crime in my 20 years of running the children's rooms. I've never even had a cigarette out on the floor, and I'm really proud of what we can generate and germinate the seeds, hopefully all of us together now, and okay, we'll all
there was never a problem, and I think the only problem was when the police turned up.
Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, you said that you've had chats with various senior police, but what's your kind of day-to-day relationship with the police? You know, are they regularly coming in to you? Are they?
Oh, I haven't been open since 2019. That was but I know 5 police forces in the country now have de facto decriminalised where they're not arresting people. And as I say, in Durham, which was the #1, hopefully we can roll that out to the rest of the country and bring their policies in, and use Ron Hogg's outstanding achievements, and as I say, and Alfon Jones as well, we can use his, as I say, because the really famous crime commissioners in the community who are like, everyone knows the names. Okay, and like as I say, everyone will know your name if you can join with us. Okay, really, it's beneficial for everybody. Right?
Yourself personally, Gary, how's your relationship been with the police, and how has it affected how your day-to-day life over the past 20 years? I'm scared to look
at a police officer. I've been arrested over at least 50 times. I've been to jail 3 times, as I say, and they must have spent, I think, at least £2 million on children's rooms. I've had military raids. When Matrix first got set up in 2005, I was one of the first raids, and we had our top policeman then is a lord now, and he actually, when he retired out of police, he said, I don't know why I carried it on. I can't think of his name now, but he was one of our ex, Lord Hogan Howe.
Oh right.
Okay. He actually stated when he retired that he can't believe he carried it on, but he was one of the first people who sent the Matrix in on me, so I'd like to talk to him now with hindsight, and okay, and maybe bring his policy, what he's saying now, to Miss Serena Kennedy, who's our new top cop.
Well, I mean, I think, you know, regardless of what happens in the election, you know, it's something that, you know, I'm keen on because I've been a long supporter of regulating the market, and, you know, I think what you're suggesting and where we're seeing examples is a really good idea. I think, you know, it's got to be about changing attitudes, and the only way we're going to do that is by making it happen. I think regardless of what happens in the election, you know, let's get people together, let's get in front of the new Chief Constable, let's get in front of the new PCC, whoever they are, and let's kind of make
let's grow together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's grow together.
Absolutely.
There's an organic future for everybody. Okay, from 18 to 108, if you can water the plant or make a cup of tea, or you know, there's a job for you, and there's a future for you. Okay, you don't have to go to university. I mean, we'll employ anybody. All right.
It's like in the community as well. I remember when back in, I think it was 2018, 2019, when you had scaffolding already and paints and stuff like that for 4 Holt Road, was it?
Yeah, we're going to put a lot of our profits back into the local community. I'm foreseeing from my cash flows from when it was open, okay, because they give tens of thousands of pounds back to the local community, because I was saying, I don't want you £20. Here's 2 little cuttings, grow your own and you're self-sufficient then. It's like, this is where we're at type of thing. So it's millions of pounds, and we can pay the tax on and take it off the streets, and okay, provide that safe place and do things right. And as I say, we all have the same. And
I mean, you know, like the 420 is like the big number for stoners and for cannabis itself. And on the 20th of April, was there 2018, 2017?
I think it was about 2015.
2015. So 2015, you came in, and again the atmosphere was electric because it was the 20th of the 4th. So everyone's happy. It's like a little bit of a party atmosphere. There was live music. African Oye was on at the time wearing it, and a few of the artists.
Festival was on in Sefton Park. One of the drummers who had like 15 tom-toms coming, he connected with all our musicians, so there was like 15 musicians jamming on the stage, right? And everyone who went out of there just had, I still remember it now, and I get goose pimples thinking about the moment. So it all come together, like, but it was just so like, you can't buy what we created, okay, it's priceless. So we can literally copy and paste it and put children rooms in every town and city and bring the pieces.
As we left, we got a little cutting to give. That's one of the little things. Got a little cutting to give to us. It's just a little plant, and he said, "Do what you want with it." He said, "Plant it on the floor. Just plant the seed. You can put it where you want, and then let it flourish." It was a great little day.
It's hemp, isn't it? It's natural. It's fuel. It's medicine. It's just.
But in itself,
has hemp grow like a massive organisation for CBD and plants and.
49% of the world's hemp comes from down south in towards like Devon ways.
It's like a statistic, like 70% of.
I can get the statistics.
If you want a statistic, I do love numbers.
In 2018, the United Nations report revealed that Britain was the world's largest producer of legal cannabis, producing 95 tons of marijuana in 2016 for medicinal and scientific use.
Oh, there you go.
And that goes to 44.9% of the world's total.
I've personally, I've got family members who use marijuana for medicinal purposes, and that genuinely does benefit them, and I can see it firsthand how it actually changes the pain. Like, say for instance, a family member's got back pain, chronic arthritis, and they're able now to move around and clean the house and go out and ride the bike and go wherever they want. But without it, I've seen it. It's like how kind of it can bring a lot of pain, and it affects the mental health as well, which is a big part of it. So I've seen
being prescribed, or are they?
No, just pure. Well, they've been down and told the police that they are going to be self-medicating with cannabis, and
I'm not trying.
No. But obviously, it's because it isn't legal, and. If needs be, it's you're going to find whatever means to make yourself feel better. And a lot of people don't like taking pharmaceutical medication.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's definitely
and no harm is being created by what they're doing.
At all.
In that situation, they shouldn't be criminalised or penalised in any kind of way just for doing something that kind of helps them get through the day.
There are saffron centres now, aren't there? The actual medicinal.
Yeah.
There's clinics operating in Manchester, Liverpool, Sapphire clinics, and Professor Mike Barnes, I've actually been to London and meet him, but his clinics are regulating the cannabis type of thing. So rather than send all the money to Canada for some grown here or flown here type of thing, we want to grow our own type of thing. And okay, that's all.
Keep the money inside the cities in the UK.
Grassroots have been grown at all 20 years and have been stigmatised. And as I say, I'm a prime example of the system. What's come down on me type of thing. Millions of pounds and. Okay, 250 million you said before, what it's cost us type of thing, so...
But look, as with anything, it's a slow process, it's winning hearts and minds, we're all, talking about this, I'm guessing everybody here kind of thinks that actually some kind of change is necessary and some sort of regulation is necessary, but actually out there's so many different views on this. A lot of naivety, because people don't necessarily know. People aren't having the debate about this, and they have a stigma attached, and they think that that this is bad, full stop. And we've got to find a way of kind of showing them that that this isn't the case, and it doesn't have to be something negative. And what you've done and other places have done are part of that. But frankly, we have got to kind of win those arguments. I'm not an expert about this, but I think everything I've said here, kind of shows that, I think there's more benefits than outweigh the negatives. But there will be other arguments to this as well. But let's just not kind of throw it in the bin just because we've got an opinion, just because it's a drug and it's illegal and it's bad. That somehow kind of makes it a taboo, full stop.
And we'd love to get every single angle for this.
It's getting the facts, it's getting the right people. Like what Sadiq Khan's at the moment, setting up the commission to investigate into it further is a massive step. And if they can get solid facts and not hearsay and they're saying left, they can. What we were saying before everyone came in was, if you do too much of anything, it's going to affect you. If you drink too much alcohol, it's going to affect you. If you take too many paracetamol, it's going to affect you. Too much coffee, too much sugar, too much of anything. For a human body and how complex it is, whatever you do, whatever you put into it, it's going to have an effect on you. And if you thought about everything in that way, you wouldn't leave your house. But like that's Sadiq Khan doing this and creating these commissions to push that agenda further and give people a broader spectrum of knowledge on the topic is a great move and a great step forward for everyone.
For us as a country.
And seeing that America are doing it and all these different places.
Spain.
That's it, Canada.
Well, I'd like to explore that, and I think that's an interesting policy, and I think that regardless of what happens in the election, if I'm PCC, I mean, look, one of my big things is to scrap the wrong, but that doesn't mean that we won't have some sort of a process to have somebody at the top or have a relationship with the police. But I think we do need something similar here, and I think whatever happens, I'm quite interested in actually looking at exploring and getting the commission going within the Liverpool area at least. And that's something, if frankly I lose, then I can explore from a Liverpool Council perspective. So I mean, I'd be interested to meet with you, anybody else who would be interested in getting together and actually seeing if we can actually do this, even just on a Liverpool scale, even if it's not a Merseyside scale.
Got goose pimples listening to you.
Love that.
Let's just get the people around the table. I mean. Look, I'll probably go away from this. I'll probably put something else.
Standing up on me out. You see that?
That's alright.
Gary, this is 20 years in the making for you. This isn't just something which is just like an idea you sprouted in your mind. Like this is something you've moulded and you've
curated for so many years.
So long, and not just for Liverpool itself, but for the cannabis community in England. And you've had like newsers around the world too who've also been taken interest in what you're doing, haven't you?
Recognition from France, is it?
We was in a magazine last week, like Cannabis, and it was national news in France. Children Rooms our model.
What was the name of
Like Cannabis.
Cannabis.
So we were national news in France's Cannabis, because they've got the same rules as us type of thing. It's only us in Great Britain and France who are so backward. The whole world is progressing towards regulation, and I say, but hopefully listening to your words, and you're from the council, and I say we all want the same now, and we want to save millions of pounds, and we want to bring equity and unify the communities, and just grow together. I can't be more clear than that.
I mean, look, I'll probably go away from this, and I put a little thing saying, I'm doing this thing today, I made a little joke saying the high life of local politics. But I'll put something after this saying, I'm interested in exploring this, but I might find that actually there are a lot of people who are actually doing this already, or actually considering this already, but let's actually get all those people around the table, because I don't know who wants to actually consider something like this, a commission.
I think you'd be surprised. Every single smoker or stoner or organic free thinker in Liverpool will be supporting your party, and as I say, it's the right thing to do right now.
Thank you very much again for today. So we just really want to ask you now a bit more towards yourselves. So where do you see yourselves now in the next 5 years? So with the commission and the Liverpool votes and things like that, is that 5-year gap? So for yourself, where do you think that you might be?
Well, if I win the election, fingers crossed, then fingers crossed, then look, I've said that I will have the police commissioner abolished, and there will be a new type system within that. There is the writings on the wall now. The government are looking for a reform of PCCs, and the Metro Mayor has said, give me the Royal Merge part, roll with me anyway. So I think that there's, there would be support for that happening. So if I won, then I wouldn't be police commissioner in 5 years' time. I'd probably like to still be on the city council in some way. I've liked being a councillor for the last 3 years, and I think we've got some good opportunities coming out of this election. And if we've got increased numbers, then that will change the level of influence on the council as well. I suppose that in political terms, it's 5 years just seems bizarre. Like I was looking at a picture today, my daughter who's 8, got there's Facebook memories from like 7 years ago, and she's a little baby. It just seemed like a minute ago, but then she'll be 13, 5 years time.
It's that secondary school then, isn't it?
Yeah, so she'll be a completely different person. So I don't even want to think what 5 years time will be like. But politically, I hope for our party, we're able to kind of claw back a bit. We would have, in 5 years' time, probably would have had another general election. So let's hope that we can make some ground on that.
And yourself, Gary?
Yeah. I'd like Children Rooms to be #1 cannabis retailer in the country, doing the right thing, and then be a beacon to every other cannabis social club that's going to set up and use my model or my integrity and my app, what's going to appear soon, and run all the business type of thing and pay all the tax. So watch this space.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure having you both here today. Thank you very much for coming in, and thank you very much for giving us your time. And Gary, thank you very much for you being just who you are.
Thank you for connecting me with them.
Let's continue to have conversations, man. Whatever happens, I'm going to put a tweet out about this. Let's get people together who are interested in making something happen. We've got to have some sort of change. We can't just continuously go through the vicious cycle that different people are going through, and we're not getting anywhere on this really. So
joint effort needed. Let's roll.
Absolutely. I'll work with anyone, whatever party.
They're stronger in numbers.
Germinate the seeds today, and we'll all flower. And
oh yeah, what was the other one we were talking about there? Weren't we? Ignite the future. Ignite. He's a great little buzz. He's brilliant. Play on words.
Again, thank you very much for both of you, Kris Brown, Gary Youds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peace and love. Cheers.